Welcome to Minot Talk, Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Had a little bit of rain.
We did. I wore a long sleeve shirt today.
Even though it's not waterproof.
No, it's not. I thought it was going to be cool out. It's already getting hot and humid. Yeah, it's perfect.
That's the way that the rain works in North Dakota is when it rains, it's humid and it's not necessarily cooler, although it can be. All right, we are joined by two guests today. It's going to do something a little bit fun. We will introduce our guests in a moment, but we're going to do something a little bit fun today. The first 30 minutes, we're going to have Dr. Padragula and Joan Hawbaker on with us. Second half, we're going to have two different guests. We're going to continue the discussion, some of the important topics that potentially constituents of Minot would want to know as they begin to be able to go to the polls and place their vote.
It's going to be exciting. We had a last-minute thought yesterday. We were kind of pre-gaming for today and started reaching out to the candidates, and you guys were all gracious enough to make it work, so thank you guys very much. We appreciate it. I hope everyone at home has a chance to appreciate it too. And also, on top of that, thanks for participating in the debate last week as well. Great event, and I think it went off very well online, and we appreciate you guys for doing that as well.
You guys have done a lot of introducing yourselves over the last 75 days or whatever it's been. But 20-second elevator pitch from each of you. We'll start out with my right. Joan, why don't you kick us off?
Okay, I'm Joan Hawbaker, if you don't know me, and I just want to be a voice of common sense for the Minot City Council. I think right now we're in the middle of the budget, and I understand that's what we're going to be talking about today. And so I think we need to look at the budget line by line and see what's necessary versus what's a want. So,
very good. Thank you. Thank you for that. Dr. Padragula.
Thanks. I'm Steve Padragula. I've served on the council before. Since 1998, I've served a total of 16 years, so this would be my 17th budget. I think I have a sense of what's worked in the past, what hasn't worked, where some of the weaknesses are. And I wanted to thank Joan for identifying one of those that's somehow slipped through in the capital improvements plan, a $1 million sidewalk by a cemetery. It doesn't make any sense. So my focus, I guess, would be on experienced leadership and setting priorities. I think it's more than just going through the budget item by item, but also having a sense of where the city as a whole is heading and should be heading.
I love it. Well, both of you again, thanks for coming on. I want to start out with something a little easy to start. First, we'll start with you, Dr. Padragula. How's the Steve. Okay. How has the campaigning been going so far?
I think it's been going well. I've been concentrating on going door to door. I think I've hit something like 4,000 doors at this point. Met a lot of people, tried to answer questions as best as I can, tried to listen to what their concerns are, and just educate them about what's going on in the city and checking out where they're coming from. I think it's very important to meet people on their home ground, if you will, on their home turf.
I love it. Joan, how's the campaign been for you so far? We're winding down. There's literally a week till voting day today.
Right, 1 week. I think it's been going pretty well. Just basically going wherever people ask me to come and vote. I've done a little bit of door to door. Unfortunately, my hip's giving me some issues, so that precludes a little bit of walking. But yeah, I think it's going fairly well. Have some Facebook ads going and people talking to other people for me.
I love it. That's fantastic to hear. Before we get and start really diving into the budget, one thing that kind of came from City Council meeting last night, which has been something that's been in the works for probably over a year now, they finally passed a new alcohol ordinance. It took them a while to finally get the language right on it, but they're here and they settled on it. There's, generally speaking, not a ton of drastic change from the old ordinance, but just briefly, surface level, do you guys think this was the right move for the city to adopt this new alcohol ordinance, Steve?
I think we had to get it off the oven or stove, if you will. We've been debating this for years and years. There's no perfect solution. I think we got ourselves in a bind, 40, 50 years ago when we started licensing these things and charging people a lot of money, and they've become very valuable. I don't think it's government's job to determine how many of a certain kind of business there should be, how many gas stations in Minot, or how many hospitals, or how many bars or liquor stores. But the problem is people have invested, in some cases, their life savings in these, and it's not fair to kind of open the doors at this point to anybody who wants to come in the market. I think it seemed like a reasonable compromise. But for me, the important thing was making a decision on this and moving forward.
Absolutely. How about you, John?
I've got to totally agree with that. We just needed to get it done, and I think they did a good job, and they all seem to be in agreement with the way it was done, so I think that was good.
And one really interesting thing too was, I believe it was last week, I think it was on Thursday, in fact, there was the auctioning off of the additional alcohol license that was available in Minot, and it sold for, I believe, $140,000, which is pretty close. Yeah, undoubtedly so. And it was a live bidding, so I shout out Finance Director David Lakefield for being the auctioneer. Did a great job with that. But it sold for $140,000, and I think that's pretty close to in line with what they have been charging. So it at least shows that the market is at least roughly in line with that. But
Right, but it's an interesting deal. Market's still there. Do you take off the cap? And so I understand that this is kind of a dead deal, but I think it still would be interesting if you guys were on council. Where do you guys stand on it as far as caps go? You kind of alluded to it in your answer. I'll kick it off with you, Joan, because he went first last time. But caps or no caps, where do you stand on that?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't know much about the alcohol ordinance. I haven't been following it really closely.
That's right.
If there was a cap before as to what they sold for, then I agree. I don't think we should be charging somebody now, even if it goes really high on an auction. I don't think we should be charging somebody $100,000 more than some of the others got.
And I'll take a little bit of blame on that because I didn't explain the cap well. So the cap capped the amount of businesses that could have the alcohol ordinances, which drove up the market and drove up the price. And so it's kind of a resettling potential that could have happened. So are you fine with it there being unlimited? And there's a huge discussion about this. And so it's probably a tough position to give a full answer, but that's basically where it comes from.
I'm going to have to pass on answering that until I know more about it. Unless I knew more about it.
If I could disagree, though, there isn't a cap. There's a cap on number, but there are something like a dozen different kinds of ordinances. There's a Minot state license. There's a veterans club license. There's on and on and on. A supper club license. Liquor license. Hard liquor, no hard liquor. So in a sense, there is a cap, but there also isn't a cap. And I think one of the things that I don't like about the thing is that kind of categorization. There always seems to be a special case for a special interest, and that doesn't make sense to me. To me, I think the market should rule. I don't know that there's any need to limit that or to police that. Sure, we police minors and other people who are intoxicated, for example, buying liquor. But beyond that, I think the free market should operate. Unfortunately, again, people have invested a lot of money in things and they have a property value, and the state can't take that away arbitrarily.
Okay,
that's fair. And you make a good point with that too, because of the sheer number and volume of different options that people had. That was one thing that the new ordinance did cut back down a little bit. I think it went from 16 to 12 or something like that. They combined a few of them at least to take away a little confusion, but like you said, there's still a multitude of places you can apply for something at.
All right, big topic that we're going to discuss today is the budget, so might as well jump into it. Rather than going into the weeds of it, which we will get to, and it'll be a good time because we love the weeds of the budget. Let's start it off here as we head into. I've done candidate interviews with both of you, so perhaps kind of understand a little bit how you guys feel on this because it was definitely a topic. But as we head into this budget cycle and things are starting to heat up now, we're starting to get past the idea of the budget and starting to see a potential deficit and how we're going to come from that. What needs to happen in the city of Minot when it comes to budgeting going forward? Right now we're at the $21 million property tax portion. That's the core part of what we're wanting to talk about. Is that something that we can keep the same? Is it something we're going to have to increase? Are there cuts that need to come? There's rumors of somewhere between 50 to 75 employees at the city of Minot potentially would have to be cut. That's a rumor that I've heard from people inside the city. What's the direction that needs to happen? We'll start with you, Steve.
I think the direction is being more clear about a set of priorities. I think we're hearing more from people and from the candidates that are running. But the reality is times are tight, and I think the city's budget suffers as much as citizens do. Our gas prices go up as much. I think there are sides to this that we need to look at. I think part of it is that we have a lot of staff turnover. Last year we lost 20% of our staff. The year before it was 19%. We can't keep churning through people. They're not productive in the initial stages of their employment. We spend a lot of time training them and they move on elsewhere. For example, in Minot, a firefighter starts at $53,000 a year. In Grand Forks, it's $68,000.
Wow.
Forget about benefits. Mm-hmm. How can you justify someone staying here. I mean, they may like Minot. Minot's a nice town.
Right.
But for that kind of a hit, it's very hard to take.
Yep.
I think we need to improve the quality of our management so we have less turnover. I think we need to identify which departments are doing well in keeping people and just in functioning and meeting their goals. And I haven't seen much of that goal setting and holding people accountable. Some departments it seems to do quite well. Other departments I'm not so sure about. So I think that's part of it, improving the management and being, I don't want to say kinder, but being more responsive to our employees and keeping them here so we don't have that humongous turnover. Normal turnover in a business should be 10% or less.
Okay.
Government may be a touch higher. So we're double that. Why is that going on?
Right.
And I think that's leading to hidden costs that people don't appreciate.
Yep.
Another thing is that we're not raising our fees for services. One city employee admitted or volunteered, not even admitted, but volunteered at a recent meeting that they hadn't raised some of the fees in their department for 20 years.
Wow.
I was shocked. I know this employee, I trust their judgment normally. How did this happen?
Yeah.
So I think part of it is a sense of priorities from the city council saying, look, we need to be efficient, we need to be responsive in serving citizens. And part of that is, keeping up with changes in our own expenses and our own costs. We haven't changed our franchise fees. Utilities use our right-of-ways without paying for them or without paying very much
Yeah.
or without increasing their payment in terms of the value of the land we give them or provide for them, rent them out in a
Yeah.
sense.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
So I think there are all these things at the edges that really could make a difference. We also need, I think, to look at using the sales tax more creatively. I think the park board's moving in that direction, moving away from property taxes and moving more towards sales taxes or use taxes. So we need to charge people adequate fees. If we provide a gallon of water for a certain amount of money, we need to make sure that really is the cost of providing that gallon of water.
Sir.
That's fair. Joan, let's go over to you, then I have a quick follow-up for both of you.
Okay. I agree with a lot of what Steve said, and maybe it is time to raise some fees, but I also think that we just need to continue to look at everything. And I totally agree that 20% turnover, that's not good. But in that 20%, then let's look at, okay, what positions could be combined into less people? So we are letting people go, decreasing our staff by attrition, not by laying them off or firing them.
Sure.
So yeah.
Can I ask you? Can I beat you to a follow-up?
Go ahead.
But I want to hear yours. But it's
I'll
on
let you go first.
On the subject of attrition, basically my only question on it, and I'm curious both of you guys' answers, is do we have time? Does the budget have time to wait for attrition? That's the question. We're talking about a deficit where it's going to affect this year. Does the budget have time to wait for attrition?
That's a really good question. And I think just starting somewhere is a good place to go. We've got a few months yet. Not that I think there's going to be a lot of positions that could be eliminated in those few months. But I also think we need to look at other things and see where that is and where we can cut. And, if we have to eliminate some things, then we do. If we need to add on somewhere, then we do.
As of this spring, we had 12 unfilled positions. So I think the starter would be freezing new positions, and the city manager's already done that,
Right.
except for public safety related positions. So I think freezing positions, looking seriously at helping people transition. If they've worked for the city for a long time, we appreciate their loyalty and hard work. But at some point, maybe it's time to move on. So I think encouraging voluntary early retirement. But I think to me the issue is focusing on what are our priorities as a city, not how much do we cut or how many positions do we lose, but what do we focus on? What are our core missions? What are our core priorities? And we're starting to have that discussion, but I think we haven't reached a consensus yet. So I think that's the way to go. Joan mentioned too this issue of wants versus needs. We've never defined that. What is a want for me may be a need for somebody else. So I think we need to, in this process, which I think has improved dramatically from when I first started on the council, we need to be more together in terms of what our goals are as a city, what are our core functions. And beyond that, we provide what we can. But if we can't, we don't.
Makes sense.
You're segueing perfectly into my follow-up question. What would your priorities be if elected to council? What would you prioritize in the budget
I
process?
think my priorities would clearly be public safety, police, and fire. At one point, we were down 18 police officers. You can't maintain traffic safety. You can't reduce crime if you have that many vacancies. Now, the police chief has hired, I think, like 15 or 16 people. But the problem is people are transitioning out. They're leaving, they're retiring, they're on sick leave. We have 8 positions now that he's trying to fill. Fire department last week, they had fire testing for firefighters. They had 6 people apply for 4 positions. In the old days, it would be dozens or even hundreds for those positions.
Right.
Half of the people won't make it through the initial selection process or the hiring process. So we're still going to be short. We're always playing catch up, and that's a problem. So I think sometimes we need to invest a little bit more, maybe in employee training, maybe in employee selection, to help people stay here longer so they aren't constantly churning over.
Yep.
Fair. Then, Joan, your priorities on the budget process?
I think basically I agree with Steve. Public safety would be, and that's why I've thought about this half-cent sales tax for the parks. The parks, they really need to do maintenance, and I totally agree with that. But I have trouble with a half cent when we're not doing that for fire and police. I would like to see maybe a quarter-cent for parks and a quarter-cent for police and fire, and that way we've got the money then from that for the new fire equipment every 5 years, like they decided last night. They, and some can go to the police for the renovation of the building, other for training for the fire, all of that kind of stuff. So I agree. I'm in total agreement with that. Public safety first should be our priority. And, what does the city do? There's a lot of things the city does that I probably need to learn a lot about.
Sure. So on that then, you mentioned when you were talking with the fire emergency services, would you guys have a secondary priority then? Obviously, EMS being top one for both of you, what would a secondary one kind of look like?
Secondary priority would be the basic core public services, particularly road maintenance. Through systematic scientific surveys, citizens have told us they want better streets, they want better traffic flow. And I think that's also a judgment that city staff have that needs to improve. Unfortunately, it costs money. We've sunk more money into road maintenance. It's been like $8-9 million a year. When we got the results, when we listened, we boosted it up to 12. Now we've got it back to 11, and probably is going to cut back more.
Sure.
But citizens want that, and they need that. They don't need expensive front end jobs. I just had to have one. So
you understand,
right? Exactly. So I think again, those core services, clean, safe water. Water pipes that don't burst in the middle of winter, things like that. So public safety is one. Number 2 is those core public works functions.
Perfect. Joan, secondary priority?
I can't come up with anything else except to agree with Steve.
That's fair.
Because people, they do want the good roads. They want the roads plowed in the wintertime. I live on a school road, so that one does get plowed, that kind of thing. Good water, yeah. Now I was told by someone that someone complained to them about the smell of the chlorine in the water that comes from our faucet, and they said, well, we have to put a fair bit of chlorine in it in order for it to still be good when it gets up to Bottineau.
Okay.
I didn't realize we were going through our pipes to get all the way up to Bottineau. So I've learned a lot just in this campaign. People telling me things, it's like, oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Fair.
And so, so for that, is there a way we can decrease the amount of chlorine put in here and put it in somewhere halfway up to Bottineau or in Bottineau? I mean, we shouldn't be smelling chlorine when the water's coming out of our faucet. That's going into our bodies, and I don't drink chlorine.
Maybe more than you intend.
Any more than I realize.
A topic both of you guys mentioned is a sales tax. And of course, this has been a topic that's come up about supplementing even further the city's budget as well. Of course, if the Parks District gets their half-cent sales tax on this ballot measure that they have, then it would be starting to get to the max that our area could have. But do you guys support sales tax as being even a greater supplement to the budget than what it already is? We'll start with you, Joan.
Well, like you said, we're getting, if this passes for the Parks and Rec for the half cent, we've only got one more half cent sales tax to go before we are at our max. And so if we want sales tax to do more than that, we don't have anywhere to go except to put that half-cent sales tax on. And then we've got nothing if there's another emergency, a flood like we had in 11. So that's why I'm hesitant to go for this half-cent sales tax for the Parks and Rec. That's a lot of money. So
Okay.
That's fair. Steve?
I think that's something that really we should be considering very seriously. But if we do adopt it, it has to be targeted. It can't just go to the general fund. It has to be either for roads or for public safety. I think Grand Forks has one dedicated just for public safety. It can't be dissipated into other things. That's got to be the priority.
That makes sense. That's exactly my follow-up question is if it was designated, it seems like something that has come up a lot in this budget cycle is that right now the property tax portion does not even cover the fire and the PD portions of the budget. So if it was to go towards something, would you guys be fine with it going to public safety? Steve, you already segued there. Why don't you finish that off?
I think public safety has to be the number one priority. And then secondarily, the roads and things like that everybody uses, even if they live in town or don't live in town,
Right.
whether they own property in town or not, they still use it, and there should be some sort of payment for that.
That makes sense. Joe?
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Public safety first, and then we go from there and do other things. So yes, I would agree that it could be specified for police and fire, and roads, whatever else it comes next.
That's fair. Then kind of looking at the big picture of the whole tax fund then. So we've talked a bit about sales tax. We touched on property taxes at the start. Like Jonathan mentioned earlier, the property tax levy is right at around $20.1 million right now. Do you believe, we'll start with you, Steve, that the property tax levy is good where it's at right now? Should it be raised a little bit? Should we be trying to lower it further? What would you like to see the number of the property tax levy at?
I think trying to lower it is just unrealistic, given the costs, given inflation, given supply chain issues, given the war in Iran. The whole economy is getting squeezed, and I don't think the city can somehow extricate itself from that situation.
Sure.
So keeping it level, I think, is a reasonable goal. Increasing it, not the way people are feeling. I just don't think that's politically or viable in terms of public opinion. So keeping it level and trying to reduce our expenses, trying to become more efficient, trying to become more creative in how we spend that money. But increasing it, decreasing it, I don't think is realistic.
Fair. Joan, to you?
And I can agree with that, not decreasing it this year because we've got a lot of things, but decreasing it in the future as we can, as if when the pig iron plant comes in and more homes are being built in the city of Minot because we are changing the land development ordinance and contractors are more willing to come back into Minot to build. That kind of stuff will hopefully be bringing in more finances in the future in the next 5-10 years. Then yes, if we can decrease sales tax at that time while just maintaining it now. In talking to people, they've said that their property taxes has gone up basically almost 100% for some of them, and even higher for in the last couple of years, and that's just not sustainable. That's not sustainable. We're driving people out to Burlington, Surrey, or out of state, or down to Bismarck, or wherever they can get a different job, and that's not sustainable.
So if someone's property tax is going up 100%, and this is more of a drag off of the standardized questions that we had, but 100% in the last 3 years when the total property tax portion of the budget has decreased by $8 million. Like, how is that? Have you been able to look into how that is happening?
It's increasing the value of the homes as well.
Right.
And because we don't have a lot of homes for sale, the property values are going up. So there's no blame anywhere. It's just a fact of life that the value of our homes, mine went up $40,000.
Right.
Was the letter I got this year. Now that's nowhere near 100%, but somebody was talking about theirs. I don't remember how much they said, but it was just they couldn't believe that the value of their property had gone up so much.
So this will be a question for both of you. Is this problem, because it's something that has come up before where people talk about the valuations of their house keeps going, I didn't do any work to my house, but it still went up. Is this something that can be fixed through lowering property taxes, or is this something that has to be fixed through fixing the housing crisis that we have in Minot? What's the best path forward on getting that fixed? We can start with Steve.
We're already starting to fix it. At last night's council meeting, they approved rezoning in the northwest part of town or northeast part of town, where they're going to have smaller lot sizes, which will make it more economical to build a home. That's a positive change, and those kinds of things have been happening. We had something similar happen on the northwest side of town several years ago, and that neighborhood is now filling in. I think we also need to be careful not to put too much emphasis on isolated cases. We need to look at the numbers, not one person's experience or another person's experience. We have to, by law, assess our property within 10% of the value. If the value goes up in terms of the value of real estate in the community, we have to assess at that. We can't,
Right.
So I think we need to look at what the numbers are, what the facts are for the community as a whole, not an isolated individual whose home, for example, may not have been assessed for 5 or 10 years and maybe has increased in value. So there's that sticker shock issue. We try to reassess homes every 5 to 7 years. Maybe that neighborhood was missed, or maybe that house was missed, or maybe they made some improvements. So I would be a little bit cautious about making policy based on an individual case that seems very dramatic.
Sure.
Joan.
Yeah, and I agree. We can't do it off one or two people, but I do think that it needs to be looked at, and I agree that it will. It will hopefully start coming down, but then people need to realize that the price of their homes when they go to sell is also going to come down, but then the city needs to adjust the cost of homes too when that happens in hopefully somewhere between 2 to 5 years.
Yeah,
Fair. And real quick, kind of little follow up on that. This is much more directed towards the state and the big picture of this. Do you both think that the state should continue to look at how it reevaluates the property tax process as they did last year, legislative cycle, and maybe a chance? It sounds like there's going to be some other looks taken at it this year.
With both a credit and a cap.
Yeah. Would you anticipate? Would you like to see the state take another shot at it next year?
Yes, it would, particularly in terms of the credit. We have $10 billion sitting in a rainy day fund. I don't think it's a good idea to just have that earning interest and just kind of go into the black hole, if you will. Caps, I'm not so sure about, because I think that takes away local control. And I think municipalities and park districts and other kinds of government need to have flexibility. Caps, I'm not sold on, but certainly paying back some of the taxes that we can afford to pay back because we've had a decent economy and we've had good tax revenues at the state level.
Perfect. Joan?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think the state is basically because they came out with this that was voted on to actually eliminate property taxes. And I had a guy say to me, do you agree with eliminating? And I said, when you come up with a viable alternative. And he said, no, that's what you're there for. No, it's not what I'm there for. So, and this is to you guys out there in the audience. When you have an issue, think about it. Talk to people about it. 2 heads are better than 1. You may come up with a great solution. So think about it before you come to your city council people or your county commissioners. Think about it. Talk to people. This really is an issue. What do you think we could do about it?
Perfect.
So this is a last topic. We're going to do one question on it. So you guys take your time. Just don't take too much. But it's a big topic, so we'll give you a minute or two. Borderline topic on the budget, getting out of property tax into the greater $200+ million budget that we have in the city of Minot. There's this one little item you'll find, and it's flood control. And it's actually a big item, and it actually takes a lot of time and a lot of topic. I'm just curious, and I know that you guys have answered this probably in a lot of places, but one more time for us. What's your viewpoint on flood control as we continue into the next decade? John, go ahead.
Oh, that's a really good question. When I've realized and been told how much debt we are in right now with just flood control, I look at our grandkids are going to be still paying this off, and going on that flood control bus trip the other day. It was very enlightening, and it was. I found out that the walls are supposed to last 75 years, possibly up to 100 years. Well, that means these kids are still going to be paying for what we're doing now, and they're going to have to start paying then. And also, they have to have every 5 years where they come and they check it out, make sure it's still good. Like they talked about that gophers haven't gotten in and just, damaged some of the dike systems and that kind of stuff. And the other thing I would say, time has passed since we started this. Is there something else out there that would be cheaper? Should we be going and looking and checking out, see if there's something different out there that we can, once we get past where we're at right now, let's go ahead and finish where we're at right now and then look and see if there's something less expensive.
Steve?
But still effective.
That's
I'll just
fair.
add that.
Fair.
I think we have to have flood protection. It's just too big of a risk to the economic and psychological and sociological life of the community. We can't afford another big flood like we had. We are already making some adjustments. For example, originally in the plan was to rebuild the bridge by Roosevelt Park to make it higher so more floodwaters could go underneath it. Now the engineers are looking at an alternative to that, maybe not building it as high or moving it a little bit or staying with the current bridge. We don't necessarily need that bridge open all the time. Over Broadway, yes, but not over Burdick. So I think some creativity is essential. We're the victim, again, of the economy, of inflation. We started this thing at $750 million, then it went up to $1 billion, then $1.3 billion. Now it's $1.8 billion, and it won't be done till 2040, if then. That's a long time, and Joan is right. Our children and grandchildren will be paying for it. That's the reality. We live in a area that floods. If we want homes near the river, if we want homes near the cultural center and the economic center of the community and businesses, they have to be protected somehow. So I think being real with people, explaining what the consequences are of not having it, and kind of taking a deep breath and going for the long term, because it is a long-term project. But I think it really is essential for the life and the welfare of the community.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate both of you guys coming on today to do this. It takes time out of your guys' busy schedules, especially as election day is in a week. So I'll give you guys a 20-second close, just real quick. I've asked you this before, but I think it's a fair question, especially as we getting now where people actually can start casting that vote. Why June 9th, or if they're early voting, why should someone vote for you? You can go first, Steve.
Because I have the experience and the common sense, I think, to make good decisions. I'm not asking for or accepting any contributions from anyone else. I want to be independent. I want to base decisions on facts and the values I think that most people in the community share. I think at this point where we have major decisions and major issues facing us, experience and understanding do count, along with some common sense.
Very good. And Joe?
And for me, I just want to be that voice of common sense. I think I learned responsibility from a very young age, since I come from a large family. I'm number 7 of 17. So there were 10 younger than me as I was growing into my teenage years. And I just want to be a different voice and common sense for our budget and what's going on in the city.
Perfect.
Very good. All right, we're going to take a 2-minute break. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by 2 other city council candidates. One, Isaiah Keller, and the other, Nicole Brassfield. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Maybe.
In the demanding world of oil and gas, precision, safety, and efficiency are non-negotiable. Unmanned operator drone services revolutionizes how you monitor, inspect, and manage your operations. With cutting-edge technology and expert operators, we deliver real-time data, detailed reports, and actionable insights for our valuable clients. Why risk the safety of your team or waste precious time? Our drones access even the most challenging areas with ease, reducing downtime and enhancing safety across your sites. We take the guesswork out of your projects by offering LiDAR, mapping, and inspection services so that your projects stay safe, on budget, and on time. Unmanned operator drone services, where technology meets safety, precision, and efficiency. Contact us today to elevate your operations. Yes, pun intended.
Hi, I'm Steve Padregula. I'm running for Minot City Council. I'm asking for your vote because I believe I have the experience, common sense, and judgment to be an effective leader. In the 16 years I've served the city, I've seen us grow and develop, but we can do even better. My top 5 priorities are as follows. 1, making sure our tax dollars are wisely spent, including keeping a lid on property taxes. 2, enhancing public safety through better police and fire protection. 3, increasing openness and accountability in government and developing a shared vision for the future. 4, improving infrastructure, particularly flood protection and better street maintenance. And 5, enhancing the quality and efficiency of city services. In these challenging times, experience and understanding do matter. Working together, we can help Minot become an even better place to live and grow. I would appreciate your vote on June 9th. Thanks.
All right, we are back here.
Like nothing
on
happened.
It's not really a marathon live stream because it's still same hour. Now, next Tuesday, we will be on a marathon live stream. We go on live sometime election night around 7:30, and we'll be going until results come in, which is always later than what you want it to be. And it's always weird in the state elections because you wait all that time, there's one drop, and it's done. And you're used to the national elections where they
Kind of trickles in.
it's
throughout the
kind of
night,
fun,
yeah.
and it builds anticipation. No, it's just one and done.
You get a little drop right away of the early voting numbers,
Yeah.
and then you got to wait a
Sometimes.
few hours, and then you get the full numbers, and that's everything.
So join us June 9th for that. Should be a good time. We'll have people on throughout the state. We'll have candidates. We have local people going to be on. It's going to be a good time. June 9th. But today, we actually are live right now, and we're joined by 2 city council candidates. One to my right is Isaiah Keller, and one to my left, I don't know if I can say her name right twice in one episode, but we're going to do our best, Nicole Brassfield. Wow. Mission accomplished. We are going places. Nicole, we'll start with you. Why don't you give us 20-second, who is Nicole?
I'm prior law enforcement for Ward County. I'm a MSU alumni. I've been here since '09, moved here with the military, and then fell in love with a North Dakota native local, so I'm here forever.
Yeah, that's how that goes.
Stuff.
I'm stuck, and I've got a 17-year-old who graduates next year. So, I mean, I've been in the sports and all the fun things in the community, and I really just try to get out there. I love it. Entrepreneur now in my life.
There
I
you
wear
go.
so many hats, I feel.
Isaiah.
Well, I'm a Minot local. Been around here for 20 years. Grew up in small town, rural North Dakota. And I'm big on community, big on business, and just want to see impact, community impact, and really lead Minot into the best years of its time. I really feel that with my heart. So I'm excited. This campaign's been an absolute blast, and I can't wait to see what happens on June 9th.
I believe it was mentioned that politics runs in your family. Your dad might.
Yeah, my dad's the mayor of Carlsruhe, and it's a little bit funny because they dealt with some water flooding issues there. So, to each their own, and here we are in Minot dealing with flood.
That's
so.
a fact.
Yeah.
And we'll start out kind of similar with how we did with Steve and Joan here with you guys. Just want to ask you a blanket question. How's the campaign been going so far? Nicole, what's the experience been like campaigning this year?
You know, it's actually pretty easy. I funded all my own stuff. I bought my own signs. 100 was a lot of signs.
Yeah.
Did you get them all out?
I understand.
Nope.
Hey, if you need a sign, hit Nicole.
For just another week. No, I've gotten a few. Sherry at the spot. I worked hard with her. Somebody keeps stealing my signs.
They like them that much. They want their
They love the
collectibles.
concept, yeah.
I know. I was like,
Yeah.
Sherry, and she's like, Nicole, I have no idea where they went. And I was like, I don't know. I put one up the other night. Came back 4 days later for darts with my team, and it's
Lo and
gone
behold.
again.
Wow,
Hey,
been a good time.
if you
Yeah.
wanted to sign, all you had to do was ask.
Yeah, they're free.
She still has more. Isaiah.
Isaiah, what's the campaign experience been like for you?
It's been an absolute blast and adventure. it's just, talking with people and just getting out into the community has just been so much fun. And I've made new friends along the journey. So I'm a people person. I love to interact. I love to hear feedback. It could be venting, but also it could be positive feedback. And so I like to hear any perspective and all perspectives. And so that's helped me formulate my campaign.
Perfect. Love to hear it. Kind of similar thing as well. City council meeting last night, the big kind of thing that came out of that alcohol ordinance was passed. This has been something that has been directly on the topic for at least a year now and indirectly for a few years. Just big surface level of it. Nicole, what's your take on the alcohol ordinance being passed? Do you think it was the right move?
Yes. So what a lot don't know is I'm actually the bar manager at the Regency with Carl.
Okay.
Yeah, so I manage that bar. So when it comes to your special event ordinances and things along those, like that, to have those, you really kind of needed to name what it is. It's not something to where you're operating a second business with the same liquor liability for 2 weeks at a time as how it was written previously.
Okay.
This needs to be like, it doesn't necessarily need that cap of that 21-day event, but you needed a better definition so you can say, no, you should probably do this. Because in another reality, when you look at it, you can have a beer and wine license for, I believe it's $5,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. And
a minimal price compared to
minimal
the-
price compared to that. So you could operate under a smaller license until you get that revenue to buy that other liquor license. Because the one that just auctioned was $140,000.
Yep.
Well, that $140,000 did what? It just came right back to our community. Now the city has some money for it. Things along those lines where your special event permits are only $25. And that's all it is. So, I mean, if you're doing $25 for 2 weeks at a time, it's not going to help the city. It's not going to help anything. Granted, you're selling alcohol, so you have that sales tax, you have that liquor, you have it, and it goes to the state, and like you have that money. Don't get me wrong. Like you're still bringing in more than 25. But also, once one person learns how to abuse the system and you have a loophole, then multiple are going to start doing it. And that's when it's going to really become a problem. And I know a lot of times this originally came back from like previous pop-up bars and things along those lines that were running for it was about 2 months.
A couple-ish months, yeah.
A couple-ish months, so about 2.5-ish months, roughly, right around in there. And other owners were kind of upset that person could do that. Well, what they didn't realize was the other entities that person had weren't open. That all their staff was there. So that's one of the things. And I know I love to say that it's just a one-time and kind of done thing, but everybody gets a little nitpicky. They all spent all this money. I don't like to see the liquor licenses messed with because there's people who have loans on these that spend $250 or $200 or now $140,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if we take the cap off of that and then lower it to that $5,000, with that, it becomes more of a liability issue too, because now anybody can go get one, and it's $5,000. And liquor's not something to play with. Coming from the law enforcement, DUIs, going to those injury accidents. Very rarely does the drunk driver die. It's the sober people that they hit. So it is kind of a waterfall. I like to call it, I throw a rock in a pond and I watch where all the ripples go, and I try to look at it very analytical and without emotion and just go the whole way and see where it falls.
That's perfect. Isaiah, your kind of thoughts on the alcohol ordinance update here?
I won't spend too much time on it. I think they came to a reasonable solution, and I've thought a lot about this kind of with an open mind. You have to have some caps. I think it's good because personally, from kind of a conservative value standpoint, I don't want a liquor store popping up on every corner. And it's not like we've had a huge demand for liquor licenses more than the cap. So I think we're in an appropriate area where there's enough supply and demand where they're able to make a little money off of it, I guess. And then what it does is it keeps that market in the hands of those that put money invested into it. So, yeah, I don't really disagree with what they came up with. I think it's a reasonable solution, and it seems like that's what the city's been wanting with this too. So, yeah, we weren't really looking maybe for a a total overhaul, but more of a reformation on that. So I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, so big topic that we want to discuss today is the budget. It's primary deal, and so we'll kick it off in the same deal. We might ask different questions out of this, but just kick it off in the same spot. We've seen the budget. Obviously, there's going to be some opinions that are going to come out on this. City manager, there's not going to be the council president this year. But as you guys have looked through it, what's your thoughts on it? Shows a deficit going in there, shows that potentially there's going to have to be some cuts somewhere. What's your thoughts on the budget with the property tax, trying to stay close to the same, the whole works? We'll begin with you, Isaiah.
Well, I think there's been a lot of hype. The reason why I say that is because, when Tom Joyce came out with, well, there needs to be 3%, estimated 3% cuts, across the board if we're going to stay within the lines. That is one perception, and I trust his judgment. He does a great job, but it is one perception, and so it leaves out a lot of variables, and it leaves out a lot of other options and ways to look at the budget line by line. We haven't even really dove into the capital improvement projects. A lot of those have been, in a sense, decided on because it's been approved, but the specific projects, those are big projects. So there could be a lot saved just with not doing a project this year and waiting, and there's a lot of hype and a lot of fear mongering going on with it, and that's what I don't really care for. We will have to balance the budget, and the thing about it is no councilman will be able to automatically increase revenue miraculously in the next year. So we do have to work with what we have, and I think that the city's moving in the right direction because in the long term, as property taxes remain low, potentially if they go lower, you're going to see an increase in revenue. It's classic Reaganomics, and for me, the conservative policies in that regard are a no-brainer. So I think we're going to have to figure it out. We have some community members coming forth, bringing good input, bringing good things forward. The department heads and city employees have been very vocal about what they feel, and I think that's fantastic. For me, I'm always going to prioritize public safety and essential services. So, police, fire, water, and roads, and that leaves a lot open, but that's kind of where I stand at with it. So
Perfect. Nicole.
Yeah.
Well, with the budget, luckily the state has stepped in with, giving our citizens a bit of a reprieve and making it to where they pay a decent amount of it. Rumor on the street is that they're going to increase that credit as well. So that will definitely help. I'm only one person. You got to get everybody to vote in onto it. I don't want to see our fire department stuck with who do we let go, things along those lines, because they're right up there. Same with the PD, and then fire, roads, water, all of those. Those are our main infrastructures that the citizens are paying for and needing. And then hearing some of the employees and talking to them throughout this campaign, and of benefits, they've lost over the years of just trying. So it used to be a much better benefits package, and now it's an 80-20, which 80% is paid by the employer, 20 is done by the employee. Well, with that also comes higher deductibles and higher out-of-pocket needs. And I would like to see it kept flat, at least for 2027. I don't think a 3% decrease is going to ever work, not without people losing their jobs. I would love to see property taxes go down. Do I know if it's feasible? With our current population and our debt and everything we have right now, it's not going to happen. And I do, like Isaiah said, that if they can save money there, they're going to put more into the community, but how many have been living off credit cards? How many are already deficit? And their money is going to go to that. I mean, a responsible person is going to pay their bills first. Maybe I have too much, right? That was the first thing I did. My mom was not very responsible. It was all about spending the money, and then we figure out bills later. So I do the complete opposite in my life.
That's fair. Reasonable.
Reasonable spending. Don't spend like my mom, guys. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
That's the takeaway there. So both of you mentioned priorities a little bit in your responses there. What Isaiah, we'll start with you. What would one of your top priorities be for keeping in the budget as at this point?
Well, I think, you have your essential services. I had the opportunity of touring the water treatment plant, and that was an eye-opener. I really wanted to know more information about the NOS project. Mm-hmm. And that is something that has kind of been on the back burner, and it needs, it's coming. Hopefully they have water here sometime this fall. It's taken a while to finish, the water treatment plant, or the pump stations in one regard, but the treatment plant there in Max. But that's going to bring a whole new set of challenges, and we haven't really even talked about that. But all of these things, really, we need to dissect and go through with a fine tooth comb. Now, one thing that we've seen with the police department is they have brought their numbers up some. Mm-hmm. And so, do they want more? Well, of course, they wanted a brand new police station. Mm-hmm. They got a remodel out of it. Okay, well, so those are the types of situations that we need to capitalize on. The fire department, it seems like they have more needs now than maybe the police station. Do we need to prioritize their needs? Yeah, sure. Let's look at what we can do. There are limits to everything. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we need to realize, is that it's nobody's fault, none of the candidates' faults right now, or this current city council perhaps, that we are where we are. A lot of these decisions with flood control and these different things happened years and years ago. What we're trying to do is just take the buck and move it forward. And there's going to be difficult decisions. There's going to be unpopular decisions made, but we want to do the best that we can for Minot. So
perfect. Nicole, a top priority from you for the budget?
So the top priority, go law enforcement. Love it. Do I think the firefighters may need the money more right now? Absolutely. After talking to their union and hearing the things, and the amount of openings that Chief Fry had, mm-hmm. those are all people that were leaving before him. So mm-hmm. those are all just open positions that he was filling in those areas. And, he's got all the Ward County experience pretty mm-hmm. much now.
Sure.
All the guys I used to work with are over there. Except for, a few higher up admins, DCI, things along those lines.
Of course.
But with that, the flood project has to get done. The sooner we can get it done, the better, because obviously inflation is crazy. And then I would love for us to just be able to do the dirt dikes everywhere. Mm-hmm. But we don't have the footprint. Mm-hmm. And then we have the eminent domain, and you got to try to buy people's houses. They can tell you no, sit in the house forever. That delays the project, which is partial reasons of some of the areas were delayed as well. Mm-hmm. And then, so the flood project has to be done. Mm-hmm. Our firefighters, we got to figure something out for those poor guys. 2018, they lost a lot of benefits. Mm-hmm. And it's creating that revolving door where they're leaving. We got high school kids coming out, being a firefighter, mm-hmm. getting trained, and then going to Bismarck or Williston and making more money. Because why would you not? You mm-hmm. have a full benefits package. You get tuition reimbursement because you have to have an associate's to move up mm-hmm. in the chain, as in captain, things along those lines. And we used to have all that. And they actually had 2 more days off a month.
Okay.
So we've taken a lot from our firefighters, and we should be grateful for the ones that have stuck around. This is not an easy job. Mm-hmm. As a cop, we used to always make fun of them. Hey, I wish I could sleep for 12 hours. But in reality, they're not just in there sleeping. They're working out, making sure they stay fit so they can get to you. They're mm-hmm. waxing and cleaning those trucks. They're doing maintenance. They're cleaning the fire hall and going to medical calls. Mm-hmm. They made it 9 out of 10 times before an ambulance. So if we cut them, right. What is a person's life worth? Because they're the ones who are coming to you.
Sure. Let's go ahead. I was going to move on to different topic. Yeah, I was going to move on to sales.
Okay, I want to go to a different direction first.
Go ahead.
So it was something that was mentioned by you, and it's a topic that we have potentially later, but you mentioned the state tax credit. And so you mentioned that there's an opportunity that might actually be increased. Well, I'll start with you on this question. We'll go to Isaiah next. But with the state tax credit, basically, does that actually help in your viewpoint, does that actually help the city in the formation of their budget, or is that simply something that is supplements the taxpayer in the end?
So it's both. With that, we get the money. So it comes to the city. So that $1,600 credit, we get that. That way, otherwise, there's no way the city could have even. We would be so deficit. Our reserves would probably be wiped out. And then maybe that's a little too much. But the state is giving that money back to us as a city of our citizens. So that is helping. And I know the state has, I think it's 10 billion sitting there that's just collecting interest. And I feel like that needs to go back to our people right now of the entire North Dakota.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting topic, state topic, but that's not why we're here. But
That's my opinion.
yeah, no, that's right. Well, I was just gonna say the only thing I was gonna say on it was the people of North Dakota voted on that and voted down because they voted to get voted against getting checks back. Isaiah, is that $1,600? Do you view that $1,600 credit as something that does supplement the city budget, or is it just something that once the budget is decided, it becomes that little help to the taxpayer?
It's interesting because North Dakota boasts to be a conservative state, but we actually have very high taxes in many ways. The property tax has been very high for a long time. Thankfully, there's been relief. Now, it seems like the pressure is on the state to keep the relief going and actually to increase that relief. I don't really see that going away anytime soon. If it does, we'd be in a serious, you could say, crisis where we'd have to figure something out. I think we can lean on it, but I don't think it needs to be a crutch where we just depend on that. We don't decide what we're going to do on a local level because we have that. So it's a little bit of a twofold. It's a blessing. We need to be thankful for it, continue to promote those types of policies. But then at a local level, we need to dig into it still. We need to figure out this budget. We need to figure out what's Minot going to look like if there's additional business growth and business development in town. Where does that levy go? And I know that's something you'd asked, the other two candidates. What do we do with the levy if there's another $8 million that pour in? Because if you leave the levy the same, the property taxes will drop lower quite a bit across the entire pie. We've kind of used that analogy. I think that's fair. Or you increase it a little bit, you still bring relief, but then you bring a little more income. And that's something the council will have to decide. So
I think that's an important question, and the reason why is because that $1,600 credit does not influence the actual property tax portion of the budget at all.
Yeah.
And so one thing that has been a concern by the state, and the reason why the cap is imposed, is because what happened in previous is cities and municipalities would increase their taxes because there was a credit that would go back to the people. So the people would essentially see no credit because the municipality would increase their taxes. And so that's why I think it's important to understand, is these credits, does that give the city more flexibility to increase taxes? Or is that something where it's city decides their budget and then the tax credit will go back to them, and it's just a difference of philosophies?
Sure.
So that's why I was coming with that question. Kyler, you were going to switch topics to sales tax.
Yeah, I was thinking, going along the lines of sales tax, similar idea we were mentioning earlier in the show. Nicole, we'll start with you on this one. Do you see sales tax as being an effective trade-off for property taxes in the budget process?
So it's like a double-edged sword. Because if you're already struggling at home, like the sales tax obviously hurts you when you go and buy things. Luckily, there's not really sales tax on food. So if you're buying your groceries, we're not really seeing anything. But if you're going to Target and you're going up and down every aisle and just buying randomness, we'll see it. Another good thing is Stephanie Shanerock, she does an amazing job with numbers. 40% of our sales tax is outside of Ward County. So these people who are coming in using our infrastructures as our roads and things along those lines are paying that. So I think that's a way to take a burden off of our property taxes, because 40% of it is coming from an outside source. I'm from Kansas City.
Sure.
Our sales tax is 11.5 back in 2003.
Oof.
Our property tax is nothing.
Okay.
So that is the side of it. I hate to say it, I come from a mafia town, but I can tell you right now, the mafia knows how to run some things. And that is it. I hate to say it. They are effective on making money, I can
They're
tell you
there
that.
for a reason.
They're there for a reason. I mean, they made Las Vegas. Look at it now. So I think, you know, that sales tax is a nicer way for our property owners, because if you rent a place, you're not paying property tax. If you're staying in a hotel for weeks at a time, you're not paying property tax. You know, we're only seeing your sales tax side of things.
Yep.
So this is a better way to take it off of our property owners of doing that. Now, do I say like no property tax at all? That would never work, unfortunately. But even if we bump up to that 8%, we're meeting Bismarck. So nobody's going to drive all the way to Bismarck. And I don't see them driving all the way to Bismarck even if we capped out at 8.5, because that's a 111 miles from Minot. So anywhere further,
Sure.
why would you do that? Look at the gas prices right now. It does not make economic sense to go on down there.
Fair. Isaiah, your kind of thoughts, sales tax being a way to get away from property taxes in the budget?
At least
Or
supplemented.
supplement, yes. Better word.
I don't believe that raising taxes is effective for revenue. Short term, it looks like it, and it is on paper. But when you talk about the impact long term, it always damages growth and it always damages development. So again, I'm going to resort to kind of the Reaganomics type of mentality. So to me, and if you want to get into, say, the Park District, I know that's kind of a quality of life situation there. I don't support the tax increase or the half cent. I will say this, they presented it this time much better, and it'll probably pass. It almost passed last time. It'll probably pass. And it won't be the end of the world. They'll do a lot of good things with that. But to me, I don't see sales tax as a direct replacement because, again, that is going to have some negative economic impacts long term. So I'm very, very reluctant to raise taxes in any capacity. Because I see as if you can grow and expand the population base and the business and the amount of revenue that you're bringing in through tax-friendly policies, it's always a win. It may take a little more time to build that infrastructure out, but it's going to be a much more effective and profitable industry.
Fair.
Yeah.
And on kind of back to the bigger picture of everything now, when we look at I guess maybe not the whole big picture, we'll go back to property taxes. When we look at the levy, we're right at about $20.1-ish million a year right now. Nicole, we'll start with you. Do you think that number should stay as it is, maybe look to trend up a little bit, or do you think we can get that number trimmed down some more?
So even with that 21, I think it was like right there, like you said. That's not even covering our fire and police, like what we pay. So with that 0.5% sales tax, that's freeing up $6 million if the sales tax is the same as the time before. So we got to remember these are projected.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, then we could have actually covered those two because that comes out of the property tax side of it. And they would have at least been fully funded because right now we're pulling $17 million out of our reserves. The year prior was $7 million. And going over this with Mr. Lakefield, he's amazing number whiz and great at breaking it down. He's already projected it. If we pull, everything is flat, so nothing breaks. And we pull $17 million again, by the next year we're done. Because by century code, we have to have 3 months worth of revenue, well, in our reserves for our operations. We have to have that. Luckily, we have some bigger projects coming in, so we should see more people and that sales tax increase because we're really going to be buying things right here. So that is one reason when I'm okay. I think the Park District did a really good job. I just wish it would have been more of a permanent, but I also get you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch. That's one of my things.
For sure.
So this is kind of like a test subject for 20 years. But I think it should have been set on it, and it's supposed to sunset, and then it goes back to property tax, and then that 0.5 cent is there again. I really just want to see the quality of life increase as well because we bring those softball fields and those things in. That's what that is for, where they can go and maintain our fields and give that better quality of life. We get more tournaments, we get more people. But it's just kind of, it's which one is the lesser of the two evils of what you're going to do. Because as it sits now, we don't have the money. I want to see it keep flat. But if we don't grow and we don't have projects coming in and we don't find another way to supplement our property tax, the city will have no choice but to increase it. And that is not something I want to do. That's
Right.
the last thing. It's just like as an insurance agent, the last thing I want to do is call you and be like, hey, so there's been a lot of house fires in the area, so by big numbers, we're increasing. Because
Right.
that's the way your property tax is.
Sure.
It's by big numbers and then the value of your house, which the city has no control over the market values.
For sure. Then, Isaiah, your kind of thoughts on where that levy should be? Should we keep it in that same area as it is? Think it could go up, maybe trim it down a little bit?
One thing I mentioned last debate was keeping it where it's at and then looking at it, reassessing it after a year. One of the things that we really need to figure out this magic fund. Some people have called it the tragic fund, which I thought was kind of funny. There's $12 million in there, $12 million sitting in there. Now, it was meant and designed for economic development. Why is it sitting in there? And the reason why is because for a while it was a bucket for overflow. But we need to really look at it strategically. I'm not saying I have the answers to it, but we really need to look at that, because if we can use some of that to spur more economic growth, or perhaps we can use some of that for infrastructure and different things like that to offset some of the budget costs. Whatever we need to do, we need to figure it out. And I think it's an injustice to the city of Minot, the citizens of Minot, to have that money sitting in there. It's a slap in the face. I talked to a Magic Fund committee member, and he said they haven't met for years. And I'm thinking, how has this gone on for so long when we have serious budget concerns? So I think we need to think outside the box a little bit and get some new and fresh ideas into the mix to figure this out. So
We're coming to a close, but we'll finish with a topic that was already brought up once. But hey, I think it's important. Kind of affects my kids. That is flood control. We're obviously on a path right now. To change it would take a lot of work, and it would take years to change it. But it's something that affects the budget, something that affects our lives, something that's going to affect our futures. What's the best path forward for the flood control project as of today? Nicole, you can start it off.
So, coming from it from multiple angles, and I've mentioned this, I feel like a million times in my life now.
Yep.
If we don't finish the wall, it's gonna decimate our housing. Like, it's just, people aren't gonna be able to afford to live in their house, because you're gonna be forced by lenders, not the city or insurance, lenders, to get that flood control or the flood insurance, because we don't have the flood control, and it will go outside those walls. Where with the walls, you're not considered a high-risk flood zone. Now, a few things. The 2011 flood dug out areas of the riverbed by almost 20 feet, which is good, and aspects of it can hold more water. So hopefully we'll never see something as 2011 again. However, I mean, there's no place to blame. It could just be rainfall by this point that could potentially cause another flood. The faster we get it done, the less expensive it's going to be, because inflation is a thing, and unfortunately nobody has control over that. But we also don't want to see those construction companies cut any corners either, because then it makes zero sense to even do it. I understood the footprint of the levee dikes versus the actual walls of it, and that's why the walls are where they are, and that's why there's dirt dikes where they are, is because of the footprint of how much it takes. Keeping obviously the DAC rats out of it, or gophers, that's going to be all in its own. That's going to be hard to do, because you can't control wildlife by that point.
Yeah.
But I would like to see, so NAS, I believe, if we stay on track, it's done with the sales tax in 7 years. I would like to see that go to the flood then, and the sales tax part, because that will help pay it down. Because I don't want my kid paying for it. I don't want my grandkids paying for it. However, this is a $1 billion project. Like, we're up there. It's a lot of money.
It's more money than it costs to fix to replace everything. Than the damage it cost.
Yes.
Isaiah.
yeah, flood control has been a big issue. It's interesting to me because as councilmen, we won't be able to make much decisions on it. There's this false narrative going around that, I don't know, some people don't want it finished. We have to finish it. I don't think anyone's saying we can't finish it, we shouldn't finish it. It's going to get finished, and the fact of the matter is, Ryan Ackerman told us straight up, the city has no say in the flood control project. The state really has no say. It's between an international commission at this point. So do we have to approve the phases? Yeah, well, we'll have probably some authority in doing that. But as far as at least the first 2 phases, we're not going to be able to touch it. I mean, in a sense, they're already building. It's already bought and paid for. Mm-hmm. Whether people like that or not, that's just the reality of it. So can we help guide some of the later stages? Yes. And I don't know if that's even in the next couple of years. That may be 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I know from what I had understood, it's 10 times less expensive to do earth dikes. You have the footprint concern and all of that. I guess if that's a big issue, then maybe that's not probable. I would think that it could be. Those are decisions that are way, way out there in the future. So as far as the flood control, I think we just need to make sure it's being done correctly. Sounds like, all the contractors, when we did the flood control tour, I mean, they were slamming away and working hard and things look really good. So, I mean, for me, it's not even really a concern because we don't have any decision making in it. Mm-hmm. So we need to kind of get back to reality a little bit and understand that a lot of this was decided before we even stepped into the arena. And we just have to guide it the best we can, make sure it's not mismanaged and there's no, fraud or, mismanagement of funds with it. So
That's fair.
Yeah.
Very good. Last question for you guys. Obviously, already mentioned it, but election day is a week from today. We're going to be going live that night, but people will be voting during the day, and Kyla will be out with the survey, and we'll be doing things. People can be casting their early votes as well. 20 seconds. Why should someone vote for you, Isaiah?
Well, I think I have the vision and passion to really take the city into, like I said, some of the most prosperous times that it's ever seen. I really believe that with all of my heart. I'm a big growth and production type of candidate. I want to see taxes continue to remain low, but also see incredible growth and incredible prosperity out of that. So if you're looking for someone to put in the work, to make the tough decisions, even if they're not popular, and hopefully most of them are, June 9th, go to vote, and then June 10th is my birthday, so maybe we'll celebrate.
Who knows what will happen. Nicole?
Well, I like transparency on absolutely everything, and so I have led this campaign with nothing but facts. If I didn't know the facts, I straight up told you I didn't know the facts. Mm-hmm. Another thing with it being an entrepreneur, having my degree in criminal justice, all of those things, actually interpreting the laws and the ordinances are something I think I bring an edge to, because a lot of you got to get brought up to speed. Another thing with it is I don't want to, take anybody's jobs from them or anything along those lines. I want to do what's best for the citizens and the city. And watching it grow is my number one priority, and being that hand that helps guide it and get all of the taxpayers what they're asking for. It's definitely something I want to do.
Fantastic.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you both coming on today. Great discussion. And thank you to everyone for watching this episode. Like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching at. And tune in this coming Thursday, 9 a.m., where hopefully we'll continue the discussion with more candidates. Lastly, June 9th, don't forget, get out and vote. And then that night, go to YouTube, search the Dakota, and watch this. We're going to be going, we'll have the results for you. We'll have interviews. We'll have a lot of good discussion about it all. Thanks for watching today. Have a great rest of your day.